The Apple Books app is the single destination for all the books and audiobooks you love, all subscription-free. And now, Apple Books has teamed up with the Lemonada Podcast Network for an audiobook club that features one thought-provoking audiobook every month. The May pick, Monsters, A Fan's Dilemma by Claire Dederer, is a highly topical and blisteringly smart examination of whether we can separate artists from their art. For more details, visit apple.co/Lemonada Book Club and listen to Monsters, A Fan's Dilemma on Apple Books.
Hi, I'm Julia Louis-Dreyfus, and guess what? I've got a podcast. It's called Wiser Than Me, and each week I get schooled on life by women who are older and, yes, wiser than me. Older women are this country's biggest untapped natural resource, and I want to hear from them. I want to know what they've learned by living 70 or 80 or 85 years. Jane Fonda, Darlene Love, Isabel Allende, and many more. Subscribe and get wise. Wiser Than Me. Listen wherever you get your podcasts.
Lemonada.
Okay, actually, can you just pretend that you're listening to a fully complete theme song here? I got really in my head, and I tried to make it perfect, and I couldn't. So this is going to be the theme song right here. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Funny 'Cause It's True. I'm Elyse Myers. The person that I'm talking to today has the wildest life stories out of anyone I have ever met. I would just stare at her with like the biggest eyes as she talked. She is the lovely, hilarious, and incredibly talented Jameela Jamil. Jameela played Tahani on one of my favorite TV shows, The Good Place, and she also plays Titania in the Marvel and Disney TV series She-Hulk, Attorney at Law. So two things that are funny because they're true. Number one, before becoming an actress, Jameela worked as a DJ for several years, and you will hear the story of her first DJ gig in this conversation, and it is a wild ride. And number two, she also liked to DJ in a onesie because that's when she felt the most comfortable. And note to self, I need to buy a onesie because apparently it's like the new weighted blanket. Okay, let's get into it. Jameela, hello, how are you?
I'm good. Hi, thanks for having me. Look how fast we've fallen in love.
I know, basically a full relationship. Last time we talked, I was on your podcast and you were like, let's message each other right now so that we are on a thread because if not, neither of us will do it and we'll never talk again.
Let's just keep booking each other on podcasts so that our team force us to interact with each other.
We will continue to go back and forth. Okay, so I was trying to like read up on your history because I thought that like The Good Place was one of like many things that you had acted in before I had seen you in that. And I realized that was kind of your first really like your first big role, right?
No, that was my first acting.
The first ever, yeah.
Life.
So then your journey before that, you were a DJ, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, everyone thinks I'm Tahani in real life, but I'm Jason Mendoza.
So the thing that I was just like, oh my God, I need to ask her about this is your first, not only is your first like acting role The Good Place, your first DJ role was DJing for Elton John, right? Mm-hmm. Can you please tell me about that? Because that is like the most epic thing.
Yeah, sure. I mean, it's such a stupid story.
No.
I was about 23. I'd just sort of risen to prominence as a TV host. And I was at this party, this fashion party, and the music was fucking terrible. And I was bitching about the music to this woman. And it turned out that this was her event and her party. And she'd booked that DJ, I think. And so she was like, oh my God, you're so right. And we started talking about music and what kind of music I love, what I would play. And she's like, I need a DJ for next week for a party I'm throwing. Do you DJ? And this is because I'm a maniac who had read the book, The Yes Man, who just says yes to everything. And I was way too influenced by that book by Danny Wallace. And so I was like, yes, I do. And she's like, oh my God, are you available next week to DJ? And I thought, fuck it. Yes, I am. And so she booked me, which is really her fault because she hadn't looked into me at all or like asked for any kind of samples or asked around. She just...
You clearly sounded like you knew what you were doing.
Yeah, she was just like, oh, it's a fashion girl who says she can DJ. That'll be enough. And I had 1 week to learn how to DJ. And I just about survived Elton's party.
It was bad? He was like, this was bad?
It wasn't great. He didn't look thrilled. Neither of us left like feeling triumphant. I think he sort of barely noticed me. But he's gone on to just be, a lovely, lovely person. And it was bad. Of course it was bad because I DJ'd for a week. I was jamming in between songs and there were long silent pauses and just pressing the wrong, but it was mortifying.
When you say, okay, so what I'm expecting when you say DJ is you had like a full mixing, like
yeah, I had 2 Pioneer decks. I had like 2 Pioneer 2000s so that they've kind of got place for your CDs and your USB and your vinyl, and you've just got to mix the tracks between each other, and it is deeply stressful.
Did you watch a tutorial on YouTube? Like,
no, I had a friend come over and show me like 3 times how to DJ, but in a week it's very hard to retain that much information about, for a week, especially if you want, like, I don't know, like it takes a certain rhythm and confidence to make certain musical choices. And I also didn't understand BPM, like beats per minute. So I was playing shit that was all over the place. You couldn't dance to anything. I'm sorry, Elton. I'm sorry.
Literally, like,
I was on my hustle.
I'm really trying to like think this is a normal story. This is the least normal story, and you're talking. I will not lie to you. The pregnancy giggles, they really got me good this interview.
So stupid. And I know, but my life is full of just times where I have mortified myself publicly at my own emotional expense for the experience.
I don't know if you have seen me say this anywhere, but I talk about the how hard could it be gene, where I fully believe in the depths of my soul that like I could do anything, not because I think I'll be good at it, because I think that I'm like, I can just figure it out. Like, and I'll probably be bad at it, but I'm like, how hard could it be, right? And I feel like that was you in that moment of like, yeah, how hard could it be? I can DJ. And then you did.
It's not even that for me. Like, I have such devastatingly low self-esteem that I don't think how hard can it be. I presume everything's going to be very hard, and I find everything very hard. It's more just like, they're not likely to kill me if I try. That's it's less catchy than yours, but it's like, what's the worst that could happen? I'm definitely going to get a funny story out of this. Like, if I fuck up this DJ set and then Elton John punches me in the face, that's the best story ever. Like I do everything for the story. I do everything for the experience. Just to, I refer to my attitude towards imposter syndrome as like, yeah, I probably am an imposter. I probably don't know what I'm doing, but it's like crashing a wedding, right? It's like, okay, well, I'm in here now. So I may as well snog whoever I can and grab the cake, whatever cake I can get before someone recognizes me and throws me out. And I treat life like a wedding that I've crashed.
I love this analogy so much.
I think I just have a very odd relationship with failure. Like, I just don't think it's the big deal that women have been made to feel that it is. I mean, men are totally put under pressure to succeed in certain ways, but not in the same insidious ways that women are. It's like every facet of our being, every fibre of us has to be perfect. And I just think that's arbitrary and ridiculous. Like, I love failure. I think failure is noble because it means you were willing to try when success wasn't guaranteed. And we live such a short life. If ever we learned that, it was in the last 3 years. So why not?
Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah. That's just what this title of this podcast is going to be, is just why not?
Yeah.
Did you have a moment when you were DJing at some point in your career that you were like, I am killing it?
Yes.
This is the top of my game. What was that moment for you?
I was standing on stage at the BBC Radio 1 festival and I was DJing for 20,000 people, and I was like, and everyone was having a great time, and I understood what BPM was, and I was wearing a polar bear onesie, and I just felt so alive. Put me in a onesie and I become a completely different person. I become so much braver and more just more present in the moment. And
Who are you?
It was really embarrassing. I kept on doing those like rock fingers, where you put your fist up, but your rock on fingers. And I'm British, like I have no business doing that, but it was almost against my will. My hands were just sort of raising into this rock on position on stage, and I just became this ridiculous animal. But that was the one time where I was like, I'm really proud of myself, because the BBC don't let you do that if you don't know what you're doing, because it's their reputation on the line. So I felt like that was a massive privilege to get to do that.
Do you think that was like, you did not feel like you were an imposter at that point? You were like, I'm a DJ.
You've just got to jump in. You cannot be like exist in this fallacy that you're supposed to know what you're doing perfectly before you try. Like, all of our best learning neurologically comes from our mistakes. you've gotta be raw and open to mistakes.
Yeah. How did you make then from going to DJing BBC? Like, how did you even get into that role on The Good Place?
I one day got on a plane and was just like, I'm done here. I've done everything that I could want to do in England. Yeah. And I was being, pressured to start to be a contestant on reality TV, which isn't really my thing personally, because I've got a terrible personality.
Wait, why reality TV?
Because once you get to 28 in England, up until very recently, it's like, well, time's running out. It's time to go to the glue factory because you're a woman. So the only way to maintain relevance is to restart your career. You have to start a renaissance by being a contestant on a reality TV show like Dancing with the Stars or something.
Okay, I don't know if it's just me, but this feels like such a specific thing that you need to do to restart your career. And I don't fully understand it, but I want to.
And I was like, 28 feels too young to have to reinvent myself when most of my male counterparts are just getting going. This feels like horseshit. And I'd always wanted to live in America. And I just booked a flight one day, a one-way ticket. I went and quit my job. I ended my relationship. I said goodbye to my friends. And I moved to the United States with no friends, no real proper life savings, because I was terrible with money when I was younger. And I had no visa and no idea what I was doing. And when the Good Place audition came up, I wasn't ready for it. So something slightly stupid happened around the Good Place audition, but it's a bit of a long story. Shall I tell you?
Go for it, yeah.
At the time at which I was told about the audition, I had said no because I didn't think I have any place as an actor. And that was one area where I was like, there's just no fucking way I'm going to be able to be in a show with Ted Danson. That's beyond ridiculous, even for me. So I'm sitting down, I'm with all of my reps at United Talent Agency. It's in like Beverly Hills, and we're on the ground floor where the entrance of the building is, right? And I'm in one of those big glass offices where you can see everyone and everyone can see you. It's like a goldfish bowl. And I'm telling all my reps, I was like, I don't want to be an actor. I don't really want to be on TV. I just need to make a little bit of money so I can become a writer. If you can just help me survive a little bit. And they're like pushing me about this audition because they're looking for a tall, Indian, annoying English woman. And I mean, come on, it's this guy. But I'm still pushing against it. So I'm sitting there and I'm explaining this to all of them. We're all arguing, and I can see the entrance from where I'm sitting. And this woman walks in, and I recognize her, and I'm like, where do I recognize that woman from? And she's walking towards me, and everything starts to feel like it's happening in slow motion. And I'm like, God, she looks exactly like the girl who bullied me at secondary school, who like made my life a living hell, made me like hate myself so much. She was one of the ringleaders of that group of girls. And I was like, oh my God, she looks so much like her. But obviously it wouldn't be her, because why would she be in Los Angeles on the other side of the world at the same time, on the same day as me, in the same building? She doesn't even work in this industry. And suddenly she stops walking and she looks at me, and then she raises her hand and waves at me.
Oh, it was actually her.
It was fucking her. It was my childhood bully from England who's now standing opposite me when I'm 30. It's fucking her.
What are the odds of this happening?
And I immediately dip under the table. Like I'm instantly 12 years old again. 18 years, made zero progress. I'm under that table now in a conference room in front of her and in front of all of my reps. And my manager's like, what are you doing? And so I come back up pretending, miming as though I've just found my pen, as if I'd done it on purpose. I was like, I found it. And they're like, what is going on?
I have chills.
So I tell them at speed, like what she did, who she is, like how she made me feel, like how much I'm freaking out right now and I'm panicking. I don't know what to do. And they're like, okay, what do you want us to do? Do you want us to like get her fired? Do you want us to like do? I was like, no. I was like, don't. I was like, I don't want to. Yeah, I was like, don't put any bad juju out there in the world. I was like, I don't want anything like that. I just need to think. And they were like, okay, well, how can we help you in this moment? And I was like, I'm not proud of this, but it would be really great if you could just give me a round of applause. And they gave me a standing ovation. They gave me, oh my God, you're literally burying yourself in your sweater. They gave me a standing ovation for like 3 minutes, which is a very long time. And I'm there pretending to mime like, no, stop, sit down. It's not that big. I'm literally unemployed and telling them I want to retire. And we're pretending like I've just won the Academy Award. And I But I walk out the door and I'm like, thank you guys so much. I'm going to make this up to you. And they're still clapping. And then as I'm walking out, one of them goes like, congratulations on your nomination. Literally don't have a job, don't have a visa. And so I got to walk past her, totally ignored her, with everyone clapping for me and feeling really triumphant walking out of that building. And that's the last time I ever saw her. But there was so much fucking support and solidarity in that room that then when they asked me again to go to the audition for The Good Place, I was like, fuck it, yeah. You know what? I get to meet Mike Schur. That'll be fun. He'll tell me I'm shit at acting and then we can drop this. And, you know, maybe I could get a job, you know, as his, like, I don't know, writing servant.
Spoiler alert, Jameela does not become a writing servant. After our break, she tells me how Mike Schur gave her the confidence to make Tahani's character her own. The Apple Books app is the single destination for all the books and audiobooks you love, all subscription-free. And now, Apple Books has teamed up with the Lemonada Podcast Network for an audiobook club. Every month, a thought-provoking audiobook and its author are featured. The May pick, Monsters, A Fan's Dilemma by Claire Dederer, is a highly topical and blisteringly smart examination of whether we can separate artists from their art, asking, what are the responsibilities that come with being a fan? It's the kind of story you won't want to put down. And with Apple Books, you'll be able to enjoy it on the go wherever you are. For more details, visit apple.co/Lemonada Book Club and listen to Monsters, A Fan's Dilemma today on Apple Books. Every Plate checks all of the boxes, you guys. Not only is it 25% cheaper than grocery shopping and 50% cheaper than your average fast casual meal, they also offset 100% of their delivery emissions. On the whole, their meals have a 31% lower carbon footprint on average than supermarket meals of the same portion. All right, now let's talk taste, because that's always important, right? My family is a huge fan of everything that we've received, from the crispy chicken with cherry barbecue sauce to the spiced chickpea rice bowls, and we love, love, love how quickly everything comes together. Having everything prepped and ready saves you a huge amount of time in the kitchen and means you can focus on the fun parts of cooking. Every Plate makes mealtimes easier without compromising on quality. The recipes include only the highest quality ingredients, including sustainably sourced seafood that meets the Monterey Bay Aquarium seafood rankings, so you know your meals will be fresh and flavorful. Plus, you can customize your Every Plate meals with options to swap proteins and sides or add a protein to veggie dishes each week. Get started with Every Plate for just $1.49 per meal by going to everyplate.com/podcast and entering code Elyse149. That's everyplate.com/podcast and code Elyse149. Okay, so you agree to go in for the Good Place audition, and then you just got it?
Oh, I just booked it. Yeah, I went in 3 times. To meet. So I met the casting director the first time. Second time it was Mike Schur, and the third time it was the network test in front of all of the executives. It was absolutely terrifying and completely ridiculous. But I was sort of just so sure I wouldn't get it that I felt kind of just out of my body, and the whole thing just felt really funny to me. And I think they mistook that complacency with confidence. Yeah. And I just didn't have, I had nothing to lose. So I think everyone else was so anxious because it's Mike Schur. But I was like, obviously I'm never going to see him again. So I'm just going to have as much fun as possible. I pretended in my audition that my body had been invaded by the ghost of Princess Diana.
That's a good way to
that was because he asked me to improv. I didn't know how to improv. But of course, as with the Elton John thing, when Mike Schur said to me, you can improv, right? I was like, of course I can improv. But I got the job, and so that was cool.
Is there at any point when the job was offered to you that you thought about declining?
Yeah. I talked to Mike Schur at length about the fact that I didn't know what I was doing and that I wasn't actually qualified for this, and I'm going to ruin the entire show, and he should find someone else. And he basically told me to shut up and fuck off in the nicest way possible. He was like, I know what I'm looking for. He was like, most of the people on Parks and Rec hadn't done this before either. And he's just like, and I asked him if I should get acting lessons. He was like, don't get acting lessons. He was like, just do exactly what you did in the audition.
Wow.
And so he really guided me through my anxiety about that, because as much as I'm like, YOLO, I'm only like that when I'm the only person who can suffer the consequences of failure. So it's like, if I fuck up as a DJ, that's mostly just me. Like, I might ruin an hour at someone's party, but generally, even then, it's quite bonding when the DJ's bad. But I don't want to like take down Ted Danson's new show.
What did it feel like to have somebody that was so good at their job and so experienced believe in you that much when you didn't have a lot of experience? Selfishly, I was asking this question because I really, really look up to Mike Schur so much that if he believed in me like half as much as he believed in Jameela, I literally would never look back.
Ludicrous. I thought he was wrong. I was angry.
Did you feel like you were going to like prove him wrong? Like kind of?
I mean, I didn't feel like I want to prove him wrong, but I was like, this is just, I feel like I'm screaming at the woman in her underwear who's going into the basement because she's heard a weird noise. Like, he's the woman in her underwear.
That analogy makes so much sense.
You know, I'm like, don't do it. Don't hire me. But he did. And, you know, I did my best with that character, and he gave me so much freedom with that character to make her my own and to make her like very British. And he didn't want her to be as annoying at first. And then they all just got so into it, and the writers just jumped on board, and we were able to like lean into what a frustrating but endearing woman she is.
How did your level of comfort on set, like, and in front of the camera change from season 1 to season 4 of The Good Place?
I think season 1 was absolutely petrifying. Like, I used to comfort eat so much that I gained 2 dress sizes during filming. And so all my dresses had to be open at the back just from stress eating. But that also meant that I was distracted by my farts, because American food is like swallowing a nuclear bomb if you're from another country, because this food is full of chemicals. So I was so much more worried about farting than being a bad actor that it actually worked out in my favour, because Kristen Bell's so short that she's closer to my arsehole than my nose is. So and I mean that affectionately, she's a lovely height, but she's a pocket-sized woman. And so I was like, please God, don't let Kristen Bell smell my fart. And so then I was thinking about that more than... There's a scene where I have to walk in like episode 3 or something, where Giannu's painted a painting of me, and I'm supposed to walk into the room and see it. And that day was a very gassy day. And sorry, nobody asked me for this.
I did.
This is why I shouldn't be famous.
This is it.
But as I'm trying to walk in, I can't stop farting. And so I keep stopping halfway because I don't want to get to Kristen and Manny. Mike Schur was like, why are you stopping? And I was like, just to sort of take in the moment, because I don't want to tell everyone. I don't want to announce that. He's like, just walk in he was like, we don't have time. He was like, just walk in a straight line, don't stop. And I kept on stopping, and it's because he doesn't realise that every time I move one of my legs, I'm letting out
You're
gas.
going to fart. Yeah. Just had a pure personal question, out of pure curiosity. Did you ever try taking like the anti-gas pills or anything?
I did. Nothing could save me.
Oh, God.
That's fine. My stomach got used to it. But all jokes aside, after learning for a year from Ted and Kristen and everyone, and when the reviews came out and they were really good, I was like, okay, I know what I'm doing. And then I was able to actually relax and enjoy it. But waiting for those reviews, I just thought they would all read random Indian woman ruins TV show. But they didn't. So, you know, I was able to soak it in, but I couldn't take in the first season at all. I remember when they said that's a wrap on season 1, I felt so numb, and I was like, bye everyone, thanks so much, thanks for the opportunity, you don't have to hire me back next season, good luck, hope I don't ruin the show, goodbye, bye Ted, bye.
Just like trying to fire yourself so that they don't have to do it.
Just like behaving like a fucking like podcast bro, you know, on my way out. And then as I'd gotten all my stuff, cleared out my trailer, and I'm on the little buggy, and I'm leaving Universal Studios, which is such an iconic place to film. Like, so much stuff has been shot there that I love. Like Back to the Future, I go past the Back to the Future set and my love golf buggy, and the Jurassic Park set and the Jaws set and all these different things. And it's suddenly starting to hit me after 4 months of filming with all of these incredible people in this incredible place. I was clearly like, my brain was protecting me from how intense that was.
Yeah.
And it suddenly hit me that I was a 17-year-old, you know, watching these shows, and I was in so much despair, and I was so lost in my teens. And the only thing I had to carry me through was like Ted Danson's shows, like these people and their work was some of the stuff that completely saved my life when I needed to escape, and probably stopped me from killing myself as a teenager. And now I'm working opposite Ted. I've just shot a TV show, one of those same comedies at Universal from NBC with the man that probably saved my life when I was younger. And all of a sudden, even though I'm English, I started fucking bawling my eyes out.
Wow.
Sobbing uncontrollably, like couldn't get, trying to explain what's happening.
Yeah.
And I cornered Kristen Bell trying to tell her how grateful I was, and like totally ruined her night, I think. But
Like at an after party?
like just on my way out, and then just decided to leave her alone, like leave everyone alone. I was totally out of my mind. I mean, the girl who was driving me back in the golf buggy, I think, thought I'd been fired or something. I lost it. Because it just hit me.
Wow.
And so
Yeah.
after that moment, I was able to be very present, and I really soaked up every second of those next 3 seasons. I will never, ever, ever know another set that was as amazing as that. And the way that Mike Schur treated everyone and how everyone treated each other. And it was a spoiling, like, it's why I don't work very much now, is because I'm very selective about what I do, because I'm so spoiled by what loving an amazing comedy environment that was.
I mean, I can tell you I can relate in the smallest 1% of a way, but like what's funny is Mike Schur, that was the writer of that show, did The Office, and The Office like saved my life. It's like a show that I have always had on, that they became like my family, you know, like when it's always on and you're like, I needed that sound all the time in the background. And like when I first kind of got this new life, I was the second like branded partnership I did was with Peacock, and they said basically you can come to our studio and recreate anything that you want and like do any kind of piece of content, we'll film it. And I said, I want to make an audition tape for The Office, and I want it to like I want to remake basically a couple scenes of The Office. And they were like, done. So I flew to California in Burbank, and I got to write and produce and direct me like playing every role in this scene. I make that one copy, and I become the girl who makes copies. By the end of the day, I am the receptionist again.
Oh my God, it's like Inception.
Yeah. But it was like this really big deal to me, where I was like, this show literally saved my life. And I found this new career by telling stories about my life. And that's like how I got through my depression. And now I am remaking little snippets of The Office in the Peacock Studios in Burbank. Like, what is happening? Like, it was like very full circle moment, not to the extent of what you experienced, but it's just those moments where you're like, how did I get here? How is this happening? I'm not worthy of it. I'm not experienced enough. There's people that deserve this more than me.
But my unworthiness is what makes it exciting. It's what makes it exciting, where I'm just like, if I can fucking do it as a basic bitch with no education who doesn't know what the fuck she's doing, anyone can. Anyone can. I don't have any like family members in this industry. Like, I'm not a Nepo. I'm whatever the opposite of a Nepo baby is. Like, if I could, is that an open baby? Is that the opposite of the Nepo baby? Is that it backwards?
Open baby, an open EBOB, an EBOB open.
Yeah. But I was everything that teenagers think you're not supposed to be as a teenager. And it led me to all of this. So I urge people to not reject those things that make you different, because you never know how those skills are going to come in handy. Like, if I hadn't been someone who had no friends at school, who therefore had to watch TV all the time, 24 hours a day, basically, outside of when I was studying, I guess, where TV became my friends, then I probably wouldn't know how to act out of nowhere. It's because I was studying these actors without realizing. I was absorbing them via osmosis. Yeah. And because I was so odd and, starey, and used to just constantly observe everyone around me because no one wanted to talk to me, I just used to watch people, which sounds creepy, and it is. I learned how to observe people, and now I can create characters out of thin air. And I'm in like 40 different animations at the moment. It's like, so all these little things that I thought made me sad and wrong were all the things that have allowed me to make things that are too big to even be my wildest dreams come true.
But it's true. It's like these things that you experience that are very negative sometimes, or very difficult, that you feel like you're like, why is this happening to me? Or like, why am I like this? Or why am I so different? It gets brought back up in ways that you get to then use in such a productive and positive and healthy way. And you're like, wow, okay, cool. Like, it wasn't a waste. Like that, it's being used for good.
Yeah, it's recycling. I'm never like I think it's like important to never veer into, I'm glad it happened, because I could definitely stand to be less resilient and less traumatized.
Yeah.
But I am proud that I have managed to recycle it into something that is not just helpful for me, but for other people. So if that's I had anorexia for 20 years, and now I'm able to speak about diet culture and eating disorders and mental illness from a very empathic and empathetic place because I lived that. And therefore I'm able to connect with people on a very real level about those things. And I've been able to help hundreds and thousands of people with their eating disorders because of that. And if I hadn't gone through that, I wouldn't know what to do now, and I wouldn't have been able to help anyone. I wouldn't even have thought to, because I wouldn't have known how painful that is. So it's like these things are awful that happen to us, but sometimes if we're lucky, and that doesn't have to come in the form of fame or creativity or anything, but you never know who you might be able to turn around and turn that into magic for. And so you can make it into something where you then don't just feel like a victim. And I'm not trying to demonize anyone who does feel like a victim. I'm just saying that there is a path of empowerment that comes from taking it and being like, okay, you know what? It did happen. I'm not going to deny it happened, but I'm going to fucking use it and turn it into something cool.
We're going to take one more break. When we get back, Jameela tells me about her new podcast, Bad Dates. I think for me, what's really motivated me to cook more than anything is convenience. And nothing is more convenient than ButcherBox. You can choose from a selection of quality cuts raised humanely, and it's all shipped free to your doorstep. That means no more having to make quick decisions about what cuts are actually quality at the grocery store. Oh, and the deals that you can get on ButcherBox meat do rival the prices you see at the grocery store. Their member pricing is pretty much impossible to beat from what I've seen so far. So maybe you're looking to try their 100% grass-fed beef or their free-range organic chicken, or maybe, like me, you're a fan of wild-caught seafood. It's all worth checking out, and it's 100% delicious. Plus, there's no added antibiotics or hormones. I just feel like with ButcherBox cuts, I actually feel more confident to try new recipes because I know that the meat is going to taste amazing and how it should when I cook it. ButcherBox is giving us a special deal. Sign up today using code Elyse to receive ground beef for a year plus $20 off your first order. That's 2 pounds of ground beef free in every box for a year plus $20 off your first order when you sign up at butcherbox.com/Elyse and use code ELYSE. I feel like we're always having to learn new tips and tricks for managing our mental health, right? Maybe it's because the world keeps on throwing new things at us day after day. It makes sense. We need to adapt and find new ways to cope with anxiety, depression, and more. Hers offers access to mental health care that can support you in your day-to-day, including dealing with anxiety and depression. At forhers.com, you can get access to real medical providers who can prescribe trusted mental health medication if it's right for you. The process is 100% online, including free unlimited check-ins, provider messaging, and support along the way. Plus, you can get 20% off your treatment plan for the first 3 months if prescribed. To get started, go to forhers.com/Elyse. That's forhers.com/ELYSE. I really love that you don't need insurance to use Hers. It's all a part of their mission to make finding support as simple and painless as possible. Get started today at forhers.com/Elyse. That's forhers.com/ELYSE. Offer only available if prescribed. Prescription products require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if a prescription is appropriate. Subscription required. Additional restrictions apply. See website for full details and important safety information. You have the I Weigh podcast, which started as like a social media post and is now this whole mental health movement. Mm-hmm. But you also just started a new podcast, Bad Dates. What was your inspiration behind that?
My I Weigh podcast is great, but it's a very like serious and sincere side of me. But there's also like a wildly inappropriate, filthy, devious side of me. And I think that it's very important that women don't get put into boxes of like, you are one thing or you are another. It's like, no, I speak at the UN, and then I'm also an actress, and then I'm also like someone who engages in social justice and mental health care, and then I'm also a dickhead, you know, and I reserve the right to be all of those same things at the same time and not exist within a single box that you have opened for me. And so Bad Dates is just like a chronically stupid podcast about the filthiest and funniest stories that anyone's ever had on a date. And it's very like harmless, and we're not talking about anything serious or any kind of trauma. We deliberately try to pick our stories from people of something that will just be relatable or elevating. And I spend a lot of my time on social media talking about the awful things in the world. And so it felt like my duty to cover my misery carbon footprint with something really lighthearted that helps people escape how awful the world is as well. And it does. And that's why I think it went to number one, is because people are desperate for a fucking laugh.
Yeah.
Everyone's so serious, and my guests are so funny, and I'm so lucky that they sat down to talk to me.
You have
about
good
these things.
guests. Like,
they're
really,
great. I'm
like,
so lucky.
Guests.
I'm so lucky that. But I also think people were dying to tell these silly stories. Like, we have all become so serious, and that's important in many ways. But also, like, fucking hell, human beings need some sort of balance. So people were like so ready to tell their most embarrassing, silly stories, and that's just led to a lovely time. With bad dates.
Who has been your favorite like person to talk to? I guess when you were talking to them, you're like, I didn't expect you to have this good of stories.
Oh, you know what? It's been honestly everyone. One of my favorite guests. What's been one of my favorite? I mean, Tig Notaro was unbelievable.
Dude, I had Tig on this podcast, and I was like, this is the best thing I've, like, oh my gosh.
Oh, she's unbelievable. Also, Nikki Glazer.
Ooh.
Unbelievable story. Unbelievable storyteller. One of the funniest people I've ever spoken to. Like, it has just been a joy. Bob the drag queen also. Fucking incredible. So I've had so many people blow my mind on this podcast. And you also just like forget that these incredibly cool, glamorous, sexy, exciting people, there's just such a democracy to the fact that it just doesn't actually matter who you are or how great you are.
Yeah.
You can never like guarantee that you won't be completely humiliated on the road to love.
That's my favorite thing, is like getting to talk to people that are so highly elevated in like celebrity and in, you know what I mean? Like everybody can relate to going on a really bad date, and hearing it from like super famous people, you're like, this is crazy. Or like, I don't know, hearing Jameela Jamil tell you that she needed help facing her childhood bully at the age of 30 or something.
This actor once gave me this great advice, because I had to present something at some big award ceremony. It was like Critics' Choice or Golden Globes or something. And he was just like, just remember, because the naked thing doesn't work. I find that infinitely more distracting and terrifying. He was like, just remember that at every point in every human being's life, it doesn't matter how rich or successful they are, they've always been at the end of a shit, and then they've gone to get some toilet roll and realised they don't have any. And then they've had to do the weird squat shit walk around their apartment looking for something to wipe their ass with.
That's much more effective than looking at someone and imagining them naked.
Totally. And it was so humbling. I was like, Meryl Streep has done that at some point. Charlize Theron, like Al Pacino. Like, these giants have all been where I have been. And as soon as you think that, you're like, why do we ever put anyone above anyone else?
That's powerful.
Celebrity culture is obscene. Why on earth is there this like deification of a bunch of people who are already living in way too much privilege? I've never understood it, but it makes me laugh.
Well, your podcast can bring everyone down to like the same playing field, and 100%. I just love that.
Yeah.
That's probably why it's so successful. That's really amazing. Now I want to go listen back to every single episode. Oh my God. This has been like so amazing. You are such an incredible storyteller, and just the way you recount your life is like my absolute favorite. So thank you seriously so much.
It's been a very embarrassing time. I can't believe I'm still here, honestly.
If I didn't have someone being like, oh my gosh, you have to like let her go now, it's time, I would literally still be talking. So this has been amazing.
Likewise.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me. Bye-bye.
Bye. All right, that's it for my conversation with Jameela Jamil. After you finish up here, definitely go check out her new podcast, Bad Dates, found wherever you get this podcast. And if you like this show, make sure you give us a rating and a review. It helps other people find us. All right, thank you so much. We will be back next week. Bye. There's more Funny 'Cause It's True with Lemonada Premium. Get access to all of Lemonada's premium content, like My 5 Questions with my husband, Jonas Myers, which is out now. Funny 'Cause It's True is a Lemonada Media and Powder Keg production. The show is produced by Claire Jones, Zoe Dennis, and Linnea Tony. Our associate producer is Tiffany Bowie. Rachel Neal is our senior director of new content, and our VP of weekly production is Steve Nelson. Executive producers are Stephanie Whittles-Wax, Jessica Cordova-Kramer, Paul Feig, Laura Fisher, Kesla Childers, and me, Elyse Myers. This show is mixed by Johnny Vince Evans, additional help from Noah Smith and Ivan Krayev. Our theme song music was written by me and scored by Xander Singh. Follow Funny 'Cause It's True wherever you get your podcasts, or listen ad-free on Amazon Music with your Prime membership. Boo-doo-doo-doo-boom-doo.
It only takes one person to stand up for justice. In the Louisiana area known as Cancer Alley, that person is Sharon Levine. On Lemonada Media's new series Discarded, you can hear the true story of a modern-day Erin Brockovich. Sharon Levine took on one of the largest plastic manufacturing companies in the world as it was trying to infiltrate her hometown. Hosted by Emmy Award-winning journalist Gloria Riviera, the show explores how our polluted plastic world came to be and what communities like St. James Parish are doing to stand up to big plastic. Listen to Discarded now, wherever you get your podcasts.
Last Day from Lemonada Media explores the moments that change us. Those times where you look back and say, whoa, one day I was myself and the next I wasn't. I'm Stephanie Whittleswax, and I have seen time and time again how sharing these stories can change lives. So, do you have a moment in your life that changed you, fundamentally and forever? What happened? How did you move through it? And how did you eventually start again? If you'd like to share your story, go to bit.ly/lastdaystories, bit.ly/lastdaystories. We can't wait to hear from you. 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 We can't wait to hear from you.